This is the weekly video for Project Wayne. What Project Wayne is an experiment in how close someone can become in real life to a polymath such as Bruce Wayne. And the reason why I use Bruce Wayne as an example of a polymath to base this project off of is because, he's essentially like the ideal polymath. He's able to have the knowledge of 127 different martial arts. He's a polyglot, meaning he's fluent in multiple different languages, including Chinese, Russian, English, Russian. He knows how to run a multi-billion-dollar business. And a question I get a lot of the times is, why base this project off of someone that doesn't exist? And the purpose for that is because everything is considered to be impossible until you actually do it. A good example for this is the 4-minute mile. No one thought it was possible until Roger Bannister did it, and then I think almost 2,000 people have done it since, just because someone proved that it is possible. So that's why I use Bruce Wayne, a fictional character, as kind of like the masthead for this project, if you will, rather than someone in real life like Leonardo da Vinci or Johnny Kim, someone who's real. So essentially the project is a long-range experiment in discipline and time management, seeing how well someone can get at time management techniques, and building the discipline to be able to become a modern polymath. So essentially what I'm focused on and I have been focused on for the past month or so, and then ending in about 2 or 3 weeks here, is MMA. And the goal here isn't really that I think I'll be able to become a master at MMA in only a 2 months or so time span. It's because it's just enough to get a basic understanding of stuff and be able to take what I've learned in that 2-month time span and be able to start doing some stuff on my own. And this is just because I don't really have any other choice. I have some stuff coming up that I'll talk about in the latter half of this video. But essentially this focus is like all the other focuses. It's just so I get what I need, so then I can implement it into becoming a polymath. When I focused on the project on studying for the CPA, even though I didn't finish it, I got what I needed. I got all the information that I needed to be able to run my own business. When the project was focused on personal finance, I learned as much as I needed to about personal finance, and then I switched the focus of the project. So, in personal finance, it was figuring out, what my strategy was to lower my taxable income, use all the tax advantage accounts as possible, set all those accounts up, consult with, financial advisors, etc., and, come up with a fire target. How much money do I need to retire? What goal am I trying to retire at as soon as possible? For me, it's 30, but it might even happen sooner than that. And then, all the focuses of the project are kind of, it doesn't mean that I'm done with that focus after I end that focus. It just means I've gotten the baseline of what I need so that I'm able to essentially go in, focus on this one thing, and then either take that knowledge or build time management skills to be able to take that skill or that knowledge and apply it, throughout the rest of the project. So for example, MMA right now, since I'm doing it full time, I go 5 to 6 times a week. I train for 2 hours and 30 minutes a day. That's an hour of Muay Thai and an hour and a half of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I do road work mostly every day. So cardio, and then, that's split in between zone 2 training and some sprint training. And then I hit the gym for weights on my own. And essentially that's what I'm focusing on right now. And then, the other half of it is, diet, sleep, and recovery. But once the project focus turns away from it, what I'll be doing is taking those time management techniques and everything that I've learned from this MMA focus, where I was doing it full time, and be able to condense it down into a smaller time frame where I'm focused on something else. For example, when I was focused on personal finance, I learned all the personal finance things that I needed to know, where I should be putting my money and, what my fire target is. And now I continue to do that stuff every single day, every single week, every single month, but I don't really need to think about it a whole lot. Even though I work on it every single day, it only takes me maybe 5-10 minutes of my time, because I have the notification set up on my phone. I have all these bills already automated. I know exactly how much money I spend every single month, how much money I'm spending, earning, and how much of that is getting spent, and then how much of that is getting invested, and how well all my investment accounts are doing. So the same thing would be with MMA. When I come back from my hiatus, what I'll be doing is taking all the the knowledge and the time management skills that I built from doing MMA full time and transferring it into just a smaller portion of my life, and transferring it into joining club MMA and Muay Thai and boxing. So even though I'm training Muay Thai full time or MMA full time right now, going 5 to 6 times a week, when I'm back at university and I'm studying essentially, and that's my full-time focus, I'll still be training MMA on the side, but because it won't be my full-time focus, maybe I'm only training 3 to 4 times a week instead of 5 to 6 times a week. And I'm able to do that while also handling all that schoolwork as well, because I built up time management skills particularly for MMA. So for example, when I get home when I finish at the gym, I'm on my commute home, I'm drinking a liter of water, and with that I'm having a protein shake. So not only am I doing something that I already have to be doing, commuting back home, but I'm also getting my water intake for the day at minimum 125 ounces of water, and I'm also getting my protein in for the day, bare minimum 190 grams. When I get home, when I go upstairs to take a shower, I'm taking my mouth guard with me, so I don't have to take a separate trip upstairs later, because I'm already going up to the shower. I take my mouth guard, I clean it, hop in the shower, bring it back down, put it in my bag. When I get home and when I change, I'm taking everything dirty out of my bag. I'm taking out my gi, my belt, any clothes I changed out of, my headgear, which I'll talk about later. And if I brought a towel at all, and I'll throw it all in the dirty laundry immediately. And it's just kind of building those habits that take something, that might take, longer than it should take, and you're just condensing it down because you had that experience, taking that MMA full time and being able to do almost the same results, just in a whole lot smaller time frame. So for MMA, hydration, something that's changed since the last time I made a video, because this video is for week 42, 43, and 44, because I haven't uploaded in a while. Hydration, I changed my system, which I briefly mentioned before. Before, my daily goal was 196 ounces a day. I've changed it down to a baseline of 125 ounces. So what that means is every single day, if I do no exercise, or if I do exercise, regardless, my baseline is 125 ounces. And then if I do, road work, today I did an hour of zone 2. I think around 5 or 6 miles. I haven't checked, but it'll add maybe 20 or 30 ounces for that hour of road work that I did. So my daily goal could be higher than that, and it usually is. So for example, this is my stats from the past week. Not the best. There's a lot of stuff to go through here, but if you look at the hydration system column here, a lot of the daily goals is a lot higher than just 125 ounces. So day 1 of the last 7 days, I got 132 ounces out of 137, then 33 out of 125, I don't think that was correct. I think that was just the only 33-ounce serving I recorded. Then 90 out of 164, then 99 out of 164, then 132 out of 176, and today it'll probably be close to 196 ounces, just because I did a lot of running and I had a long leg session. So you can see how the system has changed. It's taking out the extra fluff that I had in before, and I did the same thing with calories, which I'll talk about in a second. I'm not wasting time drinking water that I wouldn't ordinarily need if I'm just going to pee it out later because I don't need it. And that's what this adjustable system does. It cuts out all the excess. So in some days, let's say I took a rest day, I don't need to drink 196 ounces of water, because I didn't do anything today. 125 ounces is more than enough. But the biggest thing that I've changed in the last time I've recorded a video was my diet. And I kind of started to think about food differently. I'm a lot more intentional and picky, or selective is a better word, with what I eat now. And my goal now is, because I'm doing MMA, and someone mentioned this on my other video, I kind of want to lean down. And I know, my goal is to get to pretty heavy, around 220, 225 pounds, as lean as possible. But I think the best thing to do right now is to lean down. I'm probably around between 17 to 20% body fat at around 190. It's been bouncing around a little bit just because I've been playing around with my diet. Again, if you saw here, it says I was 180, but this was yesterday, and I think I recorded at a bad time, like right after I did my road work, so I was a little bit more down than I should be normally. But I'm around 190 at around, kind of guesstimating 17 to 20% body fat. So my current goal is to lean down and then start a much slower and controlled bulk back up at a lower body fat, and then kind of continue that for a while, until I hit my end goal of 220. So like I said, I've been cleaning up my diet more, and like with my hydration system, I've also changed my diet to be more adjustable. This was back in week 41 I implemented this, so the last time I recorded. Essentially what I changed it to is a 2,880 calorie base. Same with the water, 125 ounce base, and then if I work out, I think today I burned around 1,300 calories extra through exercise, not including my base metabolic rate, which is around I think it's a little under 2,000. So almost a 3K base, and then I'll also have to consume that extra 1,300 calories that I burned through exercise. And again, the same thing with the water, the hydration system. This just cuts away any excess fat on the bone. So if it's a rest day, even though I'm still trying to recover on that rest day, I don't need to be eating 5,000 calories, which is what I was doing before. I would always, sometimes on this new diet, I do end up eating 5,000. It's very rare. I don't actually think it's happened yet, but I've gotten pretty close. I think one day I had around 4,600 calories to eat, which I don't think I actually ate, which is another thing I'll talk about in the latter half of this video. But essentially I can spend less time eating, which when I was eating 5,000 calories a day, any spare time I had was spent eating, and it's just a really big commitment of time for something that I didn't really necessarily need to do, because now that I'm getting into more athletic stuff, with MMA, and I'm trying to again get down to that 32-minute 5 mile, I really need to cut as much fat off as possible while still being able to build muscle. And this is a kind of a change from before in my diet. So what I was doing previously was I just would prioritize time management over everything, which meant that I would eat chicken and rice for essentially every meal because it seemed easier. Again, I don't know if it actually was easier. I'm starting to think now that it wasn't. So for breakfast, for lunch, for dinner, I would have chicken and rice, and I think, oh, I'm saving time because I have it all meal prepped, and I only have to cook for myself, once every 3 or so days. But now with this leaner diet, I'm realizing I really need to be paying attention to the timing of my macros. So for example, in the morning, let's say I go for road work, maybe I want to have some carbs before then, so I'll have a banana. But if I'm going to the gym, maybe I want to eat a little bit more carbs. So in the morning, or essentially just before workouts, I'll try and prioritize carbs. And then, another issue that I've been having is not getting enough protein. Again, if you can see it from here, at 190, my daily goal is around 190. And, there's one day on here where I got around 113 grams. I think I was on a work trip then, but that's really no excuse. 77 grams there, and then the last 2 days were pretty good. But you can see that from there that I've been having some issues, not only with water, getting enough fluids in, but also with protein. And again, that's because for the past 4 or 5 or so years, I've been just eating 5,000 calories or trying to eat 5,000 calories every single day. So I didn't really need to worry about protein that much. Maybe I'd have one protein shake a day. Just because I was eating so much food, I was always guaranteed to get enough protein. And it didn't really matter what I ate. I would be drinking, soda. I'd be just eating burritos. I'd just eat McDonald's. Whatever I could possibly do to get the calories in, I would do. But now I'm starting to really think more about, what I'm eating and when I'm eating it. Again, so something that I've started doing is having a protein shake after every workout. So if I go to the MMA gym, not only do I have all my gear prepped, and I actually still have to add this to my Notion template, but I also need to make sure that I have a protein shake, in a bottle, so I can just add water and add it to my my liter of water that I drink while going home. So some of that liter of water is in the protein shake, and then when I finish my road work, I have a protein shake right before I take a shower. After I finish my weight session at the gym, I have a protein shake. And that's just because I want to evenly spread out my protein consumption throughout the day. Because I don't know how much the limit it is. I think it's around 30 grams or 30 to 50 grams. You really can't consume more than that in one sitting, which is maybe 1 to 2 hours, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I just know it's bad to load all your protein at one time. So which is why I'm really trying to spread it out. And then there's like an optimal window to, load your protein in, like after a workout or whatever. But the biggest thing here is it just allows me to get, it's kind of a visual cue, it's a cue for me to get my protein in, and not only does that help me with the water, because I have my protein shakes with water, just because my body doesn't really like when I drink milk, but also it helps me get the protein in throughout the day because I have, a cue. I'm sure there's something in, I can't remember the book, but it's a very popular book about habits. I think it's by Cal Newport. I can't remember the name. But I'm sure he talks about something about that in there, where you string habits to already formed habits, so they can kind of compound on each other. So I go to the MMA gym, already a habit that I built in, and then I build a new habit on top of that, and I kind of link them together as a cue. Okay, I've done this habit, now I'm going to do this habit. I don't remember what he calls it, but I'm pretty sure he talks about it in that book. I've also been weighing my food on the scale again. So if it's I don't meal prep every single day. Also, that's just because I'm leaving soon, so I don't really want to get into a meal prep plan if I'm just going to leave. But if I have, a one-off food that I don't normally have, I'll weigh it on my food scale, so I can track it a lot better. Again, I have those issues with my old diet. I'd be eating anything, but a lot of what I would do to be able to get 5,000 calories is the secret there with eating that much calories is to drink as many of them as you possibly can, because when you're drinking calories, you can physically faster consume all those calories, but also the faster you get those calories down into your stomach, it takes a little bit for your body to respond and tell your brain, hey, we're full, you should stop eating. So you can get, another 500 calories down your throat before your mind starts telling you, we're full, we don't need any more food. And then, also it just takes less time, as I said before. So when I would do that, those liquid calories, the base that I would use is, well, what I was using is water. I used to use milk, and then I figured out that my body didn't really like milk. So then I switched to water, and that's how I was getting so much water in when I was still working as a security guard. So about 2 months ago, before I quit, I would be bringing my Nalgene to work with me, and I would just be using it to force down all the calories. So at one point I had some like protein pancake mix or whatever, and I would just throw that in with my protein powder, and then mix it up with water, and then just down the whole thing. So I already have the habit built on, every workout is followed by a protein shake, which not only gets my protein in, but also my fluid intake. That's one way of upping my intake, but also just for now, to help me, encourage me to get more water in, I bought like these flavoring things. They have 0 calories. I assume it's not really good for you, but I can't see how bad it could be for you because it's just flavoring. And I don't plan on doing this forever. It's just to build up the habit of me drinking water by itself at this quantity. Again, I assume most people aren't drinking as much water as I am, so you really need to be drinking as much, 125 ounces minimum to understand how much time out of the day, and how much, you need to remember to have something with you to drink that much water. And then with all the workouts that I'm doing, I sweat a ton. I haven't really met a whole lot more people that sweat more than me, but with all that sweating that I do and all the working out that I do, the end result is me needing to consume a lot of water. So that's why I kind of turn to the flavoring, so it's a little bit more motivating to get that amount of water in. Because before, I was really thinking about water. I was maybe drinking 1 liter a day, maybe, and that's probably what most people do. Maybe 2 liters sometimes. Just because I was working out. But if I'm assuming that people that don't work out, they're probably not even drinking 1 liter of water, and they're probably just drinking a bunch of other, junk food like soda and soft drinks. So those are the 2 issues that I have, and those are my 2 solutions for them: the protein intake and the water intake. And then again, what I did also was I dropped my goal in MyFitnessPal from gaining 0.5 pounds a week down to maintaining. And earlier in the video, I know I said I wanted to drop some weight and lead out. What I kind of want to do is do a body recomp before I start drastically losing weight, and kind of see how much calories I need to drop down, because I already dropped down from 5,000 to between 3,000 and 4,000. I kind of want to get a little bit of a plateau there for a bit before, and kind of get a baseline before I drop down even more. So I just want to see how my body responds to that, because in MyFitnessPal, when you change the formula from gaining 0.5 pounds a week to maintaining, it just deducts 250 calories. So it goes from 2,880 calories to 2,630. So I just want to have that step down, those 2 steps down, instead of 1 giant step down, because I don't know how my body's going to react. So that's just the reasoning behind that. The rest of the video, again, the project's focus right now, and for the next 2-3 weeks, is MMA. Before I go on my hiatus. and partially while I'm on my hiatus as well, I'll be working on MMA, which I'll talk about later. So the rest of what I'm going to talk about is just small things. So the first thing I have here is mindset. At some point over the past 3 weeks, I wrote down here the idea that working hard every day makes the hard stuff easier. So I remember the guy that I thought about when I wrote that was, I knew this guy in college that was in ROTC with me. And we had to wake up early to do workouts together. And this guy would wake up before everyone, go for his own run, and then he would meet us for our group, run or workout or whatever it was. And then even after, I think sometimes he would go to the gym and lift weights. So he was up before everyone else doing a difficult workout before everyone even got, to the fields or the gym or wherever we were meeting up. And the biggest thing he was doing was he was a big Goggins fan, so he did a lot of running. He's actually the one who introduced me to the Goggins, and he lent me the book, and that's how I read the 2 books. I remember the first time I read his second book, never finished. I read it through the entire book, and then I read it a second time, and then I read parts of it again, I think over like a 5 or 6 hour period. I think I went to bed at like 3 a.m. because I just started and finished it and then did it again and then part of it again, just straight in a row. But I remember, so the biggest thing he was into was running, and we would have to do these tests where there was a 2 mile max effort test. So just do 2 miles as fast as you can. And this is back when I didn't run at all. And I always remember dreading it, and everyone else would dread doing these tests. But this guy would be running all the time. He would be doing 5-10 miles every morning. So I always thought to myself, how easy is this test for him? 2 miles for a guy that's doing 5 to 10 miles a day. He must not even be bothered about it at all. And that seems even more and more the case now that I'm like that guy and I run. I think I ran 5 or 6 miles today. I think I ran 5 or 6 miles yesterday. Actually, I can see. So on Garmin, last 7 days, I did 5 runs for a total of 21 miles. I did 4 workouts, and that I don't think that stuff includes. That doesn't include MMA for whatever reason, because MMA is about 2 hours and 30 minutes a day. So the total amount is a lot higher than that. Not the mileage. The mileage is probably accurate. But I just remember, if this guy's doing all this hard stuff every single day, by himself, no one's forcing him to do that. He's just the only one telling him to do that. How easy is this just 2 mile test that everyone else is just dreading? So I think that's a really good concept that I like. And then in David Goggins' book, I think it's his first book, Can't Hurt Me, there's an example of a captain in the army, of Captain Connolly, and it's a really good example of kind of the same thing, just having the discipline by yourself to be able to manage your time well and kind of have your own goals that are higher than whatever goal is set for you, like doing the extra workouts on his own, or just knowing, being autonomous, being able to do this difficult stuff without being forced to do it by anyone else. Like I was saying, the idea of progressively overloading discipline and workload, the same way you do it in the gym, is kind of what I try and think of in my head as a way for, take that analogy of working out, and apply that to discipline and time management. So I'm still working on this, being able to be productive 24/7, or at least while I'm awake. So I wake up and I immediately start doing things that are going to have an effect. Whether that's working out or having a meal that's healthy before my workout, or reviewing my MMA notes, or adding to any of my MMA databases, which I actually don't think I mentioned. I made databases in Notion for my MMA notes, and I posted a screenshot in the Discord. If you're not a part of it, there should be a link in the description. And someone asked why I did that, and the reason is because I can do a lot more learning outside of the gym on my own. I don't know how other people learn, but I learn a lot from kind of making my own notes, which is weird because when I was in college, I never took notes in class because I didn't think they were helpful. Maybe that's just because I didn't really care about anything back then. But even thinking on it now, I don't think I would still take notes in class. It didn't seem very helpful. But taking notes on my own for MMA seems very helpful because I can look back on them and be able to look at them and have those like visual cues to try and improve the pathways in my brain so I can remember the moves. So when I'm actually rolling with people, I can link them kind of together in my brain. So I made an MMA database which has boxing. It's on that side of my screen, but you can't really see it well. But it's got Muay Thai, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, wrestling, judo. It's essentially a large database system of every move that I've learned in the gym, and then there's also moves that I've studied on my own that I try and randomly throw in when I'm doing rolling or doing open mat or something like that. And then also when I finish with every MMA session, after I get home and shower and have my meal or whatever, I'll post to the site my post-session notes, which is just a brief overview of what I did, any combos that I learned, anything else that I learned. And then I'll spend some time after that, transfer those combos or that move over into the MMA database. And then I have another database linked to that database. There's an MMA techniques database, and then there's an MMA combo database where I can say, okay, the situation is I'm starting on my feet, and I want to end in an Americana. So then I have a link. Okay, I go for a double leg, and then I do this, then I do this, then I do this, etc. So I have a system where I'm able to link these moves together from all these different styles, so I can look at them, which I need to spend more time on, because something I wrote recently in my post-session notes is I'm able to defend the moves when people do them, try and do them to me, but I'm never able to see the opening for me to do the moves. Which I don't know if that's weird or if that's normal for other people that do MMA. 'Cause I can see when other people try and do them on me, but when I'm in the situation and the opportunity opens up, I'm never able to actually see that opportunity and seize it. So yeah, and then I also have one more database for boxing specifically, and that's just for counterpunching. So, I'm a Southpaw, I'm a lefty, so I go against a bunch of righties most of the time, and that's just a place where I'm able to add in a situation, where the opponent throws, a right cross, and then I know I can counter with this, and this. But that's a much smaller database on a very specific subset of situations, which is just counterpunching. Extreme ownership and time management. This is kind of what I was talking about before with Captain Connolly. This kind of relates more to it than the other thing I mentioned, of kind of like progressively overloading discipline and time management. This is the idea of being self-autonomous with your time. So when I get to the gym early, I'm not just sitting around. I know I've got 10 extra minutes. What I'll do is I'll prep my gear, so I'll get out my boxing gloves. I'll make sure they're all laced up and I can slide my hands in easily. I'll clean them if I need to. I'll organize my gear. I can spend time stretching. I need to work on my hips specifically. for Muay Thai. And then I'll be prepping my heart rate monitor, so I'll be clipping it to its band, then I'll be putting it on, and then I'll be starting up my timer of my workout on my phone. That connects to my heart rate monitor. Essentially, there's no extra time to be wasted. So if I get to the gym early, there's always stuff that I could be doing. There's always stretching to do. There's always looking at my Notion database and trying to remember one move that I want to use when I roll today, something like that. So it's essentially the idea of not needing to be told what to do to be able to do stuff on your own. Being autonomous. And the Captain Connolly story in Can't Hurt Me is a really good example of that. So automations, again, were just a smaller thing that I added in here. I did try and optimize the SEC filings that I get from mostly Palantir, but some other companies that I have SEC filing alerts for. They go to my Gmail inbox with a Google App Script and ChatGPT. Because while I'm gone, I won't have enough time to read all these emails. So I tried to make some automation where I would get an email from, let's say, Palantir, and it would plug it into ChatGPT. Then it would get me a summary of whatever the filing was about, and then it would send me an email with that summary, so I could just click on that summary and read it instead of having to hop through all the links and everything and the ambiguous language in the SEC filings. But I ran into some issues with that, so I wasn't able to finish it. But it is something that I'm working on. And then gear and equipment. Some stuff that I added in and bought was headgear. I got them from Cliff Keen, just because, I know people think cauliflower ear looks cool, but it affects your hearing. And for some plans that I have in the future, I need to be in good physical shape, and I can't have hearing loss, or as little of it as possible, because I might get some during this hiatus. But I just need to keep my hearing as good as possible. So I wear Cliff Keen headgear every time when I roll or spar or anything. And then I also got a light jump rope. I was actually able to buy this from Walmart and have it delivered to my house free of charge because I have the Walmart Plus subscription with my credit card strategy, which isn't something I've mentioned in a while. And I actually forgot to write this down in these notes here, but in the next couple weeks, when I return to active duty, when I'm on those active duty orders, which is the last time I opened up all these credit cards, I'll be opening up a couple more credit cards. So I'll be opening up a new platinum, a new gold, and then I'll be upgrading my current gold to a platinum. So then I'll have, that'll be 4 platinums, I believe, and then I'll have 1 gold. And their rule is you can open up 1 in 5 days and 2 in 90. So you can open up 1 credit card every 5 days, but you can only open up 2 in 90. So you can open up 1 on day 1 and the second one in day 6. So that's something I also might make another video on, or not. I'm not sure yet. But I'm still working on my credit card strategy as well. And again, that allows me to get food and all these other smaller benefits for free. And then I just added in that light jump rope because I already had a heavy jump rope from before. And this is something that I'll be taking with me on my hiatus. I also got a reflex ball, so it's a headband and it's a ball attached to a string, which might be kind of gimmicky, but I'm really trying to find stuff that's light that I can bring with me that'll improve me in any way for MMA. And my hand-eye coordination and my hand speed and my reflexes are all terrible. So it's all stuff I can be working on. As long as I'm making improvement, I'm happy. Obviously as much as improvement as possible, but just the goal is just improvement. And then creatine, I got a new pack of creatine as well. For gear maintenance, I stopped coiling up the jump rope in the small bag it came in. I kind of just throw it in my gym bag now, which seems kind of careless, but if you coil it up when you jump with it, it has like kind of kinks in it. or not actual kinks, but it kind of coils around because it's retaining the shape in which it was stored in. So I gotta stop doing that, or I have stopped doing that. And then right now I'm just thinking about any gear that I need to gather up before I leave. You know, just the basic criteria is it's got to be light, it's got to be small. So kind of I have boxing mitts, punching mitts. I have them, but they might be too big and too heavy to be able to bring. I mean, not too heavy, but just too big. So stuff like this hand gripper, you know, I can definitely bring this because it's small, you know, and it's light. So that's why I have the reflex ball. You know, I'll be taking my jump ropes with me. I'll be trying to take my boxing gloves with me. Again, I don't know if I'll be able to bring them. I'll be definitely taking my hand wraps though, because those are small and light. So just kind of stuff like that. So for my hiatus, it's going to be, you know, maybe around a year, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I'm still working on the project. I want to stress that. It's just I won't be able to upload to the site. I won't be able to go on the Discord. You know, I will have some videos upload, but they'll be post-recorded. Most of them are already recorded. I think I only did 2 or 3. Again, just because I only try and upload when I have something valuable to say. I'm not just looking for random stuff to upload, because it's just kind of a waste of my time at that point. But I won't be able to upload to the site, so that'll mean no MMA updates. You know, I won't be doing the journal reflections either that I used to do. I won't, you know, just no contact essentially for the entire period. And then hopefully when I resurface, I'll be studying biomedical engineering back at university. Again, with my entire plan for financing that, it'll be completely free. And then I'll be finishing pre-med there and training MMA because they have a club Muay Thai and they have an actual boxing team. So I might be leaning more into boxing when I return. And then they also have a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club as well. While I'm gone, I'll be continuing to train MMA. It's just I don't know exactly what that'll look like. Again, I'm still trying to come up with the gear that I'm actually able to bring with me, and then what I'll be able to buy while I'm gone, all that stuff. So that's essentially it for this week. If you have any questions, you can either ask them in the comments or you can ask them on the Discord. Get the links in the description. Right now, the project's focus is MMA, so that's really the biggest thing I'm working on right now. And the updates to the site are pretty much 100% just to do with MMA, so I'm really uploading. If the site is projectwayne.com, it's also linked in the description. Right now I'm uploading post MMA sessions, so I'll go to the gym and I'll come back and I'll write what I did at the gym, any combos that I practiced, etc. that I mentioned before in the video. So uploads are probably going to be few and far between for the next, however so long. But for the next 2 weeks, there might be maybe 2 more, weeklies, hopefully. Maybe 1 or maybe none. I don't really know right now. But thank you for watching, and this is it. Maybe see you in a year, or maybe see you in a week.